Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Today we're going to present a story about a curious event. At some point in human history, people, in their pursuit of technological advancements, decided that human morality was hindering progress. So, they decided to do something different this time. Amidst their desires for immoral scientific advancement, they decided to experiment on people. And one of these men thought, what if we could turn a man into a zombie? Wouldn't that make a great weapon to use against our enemies? Well, cruelty still is, and always will be, something that many people possess, no matter the time period in which the story takes place. Okay, I've rambled on for quite a while. Let's begin the video. I'm your presenter, Cornell, and today we'll talk about the experiment that attempted to transform humans into zombies. Imagine waking up in a strange room with no memory of how you got there. Your body feels heavy. Your thoughts are foggy. Someone starts asking questions. But the worst part isn't the confusion. The worst part is realizing that you are part of a secret government experiment. For decades, stories about mind control were dismissed as conspiracy theories. People claimed that scientists were trying to turn humans into puppets, individuals who would obey any command without hesitation. It sounded like something straight out of a science fiction movie. But in the 1970s, secret documents began to surface, revealing something disturbing. A real program that tested drugs, hypnosis, psychological torture, and mind manipulation on human beings. The name of that program was MKUltra. Created in 1953 during the height of the Cold War, the project had a chilling goal: to discover whether it was possible to control the human mind. The idea was both simple and terrifying. If scientists could break a person's mind, maybe they could rebuild it. They imagined turning enemy soldiers into informants, forcing prisoners to reveal secrets, or even creating agents who would carry out missions without questioning orders. Some researchers believed they could create something similar to a human robot, and to test that idea, they were willing to experiment on almost anyone. Prisoners, psychiatric patients, university students, and in many cases, ordinary people who had no idea they were being used as test subjects. But what exactly happened inside those experiments? And how far did scientists go in their attempt to control the human mind? To understand this dark chapter of history, we need to go back to the beginning of the Cold War. After World War II, the world entered a period of intense tension. The United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a battle for global influence, technology, and military power. This rivalry became known as the Cold War. But there was one fear that deeply worried American intelligence agencies: the fear that the Soviets had discovered a way to control the human mind. During interrogations after the Korean War, some American prisoners of war appeared to have been psychologically altered. They made strange confessions and sometimes repeated ideological statements that supported their captors. To many officials, this raised a frightening question. What if the enemy had developed brainwashing techniques? If that were true, the United States would need to learn how to do the same, or risk falling behind. In this atmosphere of paranoia, one of the most secret intelligence programs in American history was born. In 1953, the CIA officially approved the creation of Project MKUltra. The program would be led by a chemist named Sidney Gottlieb, a scientist who specialized in toxins and chemical substances. His mission sounded like something from a science fiction thriller. Find drugs or techniques capable of erasing memories, manipulating behavior, forcing people to tell the truth, and possibly controlling a person's mind completely. To accomplish this, Gottlieb was authorized to launch hundreds of secret experiments, and the tests would begin immediately. The problem was that many of these experiments would be conducted without the subject's knowledge or consent. One of the main focuses of MKUltra was a relatively new substance at the time, LSD. Scientists believed this powerful psychedelic drug could unlock hidden parts of the human mind. In fact, the CIA reportedly purchased almost the entire global supply of LSD available during the early years of the project. Their reasoning was straightforward. If LSD could drastically alter a person's perception of reality, perhaps it could also be used to break psychological resistance. In many experiments, volunteers and often unsuspecting individuals were given extremely high doses of the drug. The results were unpredictable. Some participants experienced intense panic. Others reported vivid hallucinations. There were cases where people believed they were being chased, attacked, or even dying. But the researchers wanted to push the limits even further. They began combining drugs with other experimental techniques. These included hypnosis, sleep deprivation, sensory deprivation, electroshock treatments, aggressive psychological interrogation. The goal was to destroy the subject's existing personality and then rebuild it. Some researchers referred to this process as de-patterning the mind. In other words, completely breaking a person's identity and replacing it with a new one. But the results began to reveal something troubling. Instead of controlling people's minds, the experiments often simply destroyed them. One of the strangest operations connected to MKUltra was called Operation Midnight Climax. Yes, that was the real name. In this experiment, CIA agents set up secret apartments disguised as brothels in cities like San Francisco. The plan was bizarre. Sex workers hired by the agency would lure men into the apartments. Without their knowledge, the men's drinks were secretly mixed with LSD. As the drug began to take effect, CIA agents watched everything from behind one-way mirrors. The encounters were recorded and documented. Researchers wanted to observe how people behaved under the influence of powerful hallucinogens in social and sexual situations. Most of the men involved never discovered that they had participated in a government experiment. But this was only one small part of the program. In total, MKUltra included 149 different sub-projects involving at least 80 institutions, including universities, hospitals, and research laboratories. Some scientists involved didn't even realize they were working for the CIA. The agency often used front organizations to secretly fund research. This allowed the experiments to continue without raising suspicion. But not all of them ended without consequences. And in some cases, the results were tragic. One of those cases would become one of the most mysterious deaths connected to the program. In November 1953, a scientist named Frank Olson attended a meeting with colleagues connected to secret government research. During the meeting, someone secretly placed LSD into his drink. Olson had no idea what had happened. Over the following days, he began experiencing severe paranoia and emotional distress. He reportedly told colleagues that he felt like his mind was falling apart. 9 days later, Olson fell from the window of a hotel room in New York City. He was staying on the 13th floor. His death was officially ruled a suicide. But decades later, when MKUltra became public, the story took a darker turn. Investigations revealed that Olson had been unknowingly exposed to LSD as part of an experiment connected to the program. Some researchers and investigators believe he may have been silenced because he knew too much. Even today, the exact circumstances surrounding his death remain controversial. The case exposed a disturbing truth. MK was not just an unusual scientific project. It was a program willing to risk and possibly sacrifice human lives. As the years passed, the experiments became increasingly extreme. Some tests involved keeping subjects sedated for days or even weeks using heavy drug combinations. Others exposed patients to massive electroshock sessions. In certain cases, recorded messages were played repeatedly for hours while patients were under sedation. The idea was to erase memories and reprogram the mind. Some victims later reported losing entire portions of their memories. Others developed long-term psychological problems, such as severe anxiety, depression, and psychotic episodes. But despite the hundreds of experiments conducted under MK, researchers began to realize something important. Controlling the human mind was far more complicated than they had imagined. Drugs made people unpredictable. Hypnosis worked only on certain individuals. And destroying a person's identity did not mean it could easily be rebuilt. In many cases, the experiments resulted in nothing more than permanent psychological damage. By the early 1970s, the secrecy surrounding the program began to collapse. Journalists and investigators started uncovering clues about illegal experiments conducted by the CIA. Fearing public outrage, the agency made a drastic decision. In 1973, the CIA director ordered the destruction of most MK documents. Boxes of files were shredded. The goal was simple: to make sure no one would ever learn the full extent of the program. But not every record was destroyed. Some documents survived. And in 1975, investigations by the United States Congress revealed the existence of MK to the public. The reaction was immediate shock. Thousands of people may have been used as experimental subjects. Many of them had never given consent, and many never even knew it had happened. Today, MK is considered one of the most controversial intelligence experiments in modern history. It revealed just how far governments might go when they believe national security is at stake. Scientists hope to create agents who could be controlled like machines. But what they ultimately discovered was something very different. The human mind is not a simple system that can easily be programmed. And the attempts to do so often resulted in real suffering for real people. Even decades later, many questions remain unanswered. How many people were truly involved? How many experiments were never documented? And could similar research have continued in secret? We may never know. But one thing is certain. The story of MK proves that sometimes the events that sound like science fiction are actually far more real and far more disturbing than we imagine.